Welcome back to Mighty Habits, the podcast that takes your learning list from to read to totally get it. I'm Steven, and I'm so glad you're here for another deep dive with us,
And I'm Mary.
ready to unpack some seriously awesome insights.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So today we're all about personal development, and specifically this book that, I gotta say, has a title that just grabs you. You Are a Badass: How to Start Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero.
Yeah, I think anyone who picks this book up is already kind of intrigued by that title, right? Like, who doesn't want to be a badass?
I know, right? It's like an instant invitation to level up.
Totally. And it's interesting because most self-help books are kind of, encouraging in this gentle way. But this one just comes out and says, hey, you're already a badass now. Go act like it.
That's a great point. It's like a total permission slip to embrace your awesomeness.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious for our listeners out there, what do you think? What are some of those things that might be holding you back from really owning that badass identity?
Yeah, is it a lack of confidence, or maybe fear of failure, or even just not knowing where to begin?
I think those are definitely some common obstacles.
For sure. But what's cool here is that Sincero doesn't just stop at the surface level advice.
Right. She actually goes deeper and looks at those subconscious beliefs and thought patterns that we all have that might be sabotaging us.
So she's not just saying, think positive. She's actually giving you the tools to rewire those negative thought loops.
Exactly. And she does it in a way that's both funny and relatable, which is what I think makes this book so engaging.
It's like she's that super supportive friend who's also really straight with you.
Yeah, exactly. Sincero's writing style is very conversational. It feels like you're having a chat with her over coffee.
That's a nice change from some of those self-help books that are a little too serious,
I know, right? It's like she gets it. Personal development doesn't have to be all doom and gloom.
Exactly. So what would you say are some of the most unique or surprising takeaways from this book? What really sets it apart for you?
Well, one thing that really stands out is how Sincero talks about source energy. She describes it as this universal force that connects us all.
Okay, I gotta admit, when I first heard that, it sounded a little out there for me.
I get it. It can sound kind of woo-woo, but she actually makes it really accessible.
How so?
Like, for example, she compares the universe to a giant cosmic vending machine.
Okay, I gotta hear more about this cosmic vending machine.
Well, it might sound silly, but it actually helps to break down this complex idea of source energy and make it something that we can all relate to.
I love that. It's like she's finding those everyday analogies to explain these bigger concepts.
Yeah, exactly, and it makes them way less intimidating.
So it's about connecting with that deeper meaning without getting lost in the jargon.
Right. And she also talks a lot about surrendering to the flow of life, which can be tough for a lot of us.
Especially those of us who like to be in control,
I hear ya. But Sincero argues that when we let go of that need to control everything, we actually open ourselves up to so many more possibilities.
So it's about trusting the process and having faith that things will work out.
Exactly. And that ties into another big theme in the book, the power of belief.
Okay, so we're back to the classic self-help idea of believing in yourself.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing Sincero has a unique spin on it.
She does. She argues that our beliefs aren't fixed. They're actually choices that we make every day.
So it's not just about positive thinking. It's about making a conscious decision to believe in your own potential.
Right. And she gives you all these practical exercises and techniques to help you shift those beliefs from limiting to empowering.
That's where the real work comes in, right? It's one thing to read about these concepts, but actually applying them to our lives is a whole other level.
Absolutely. And Sincero is all about taking action. She challenges her readers to step outside their comfort zones and start living their badass lives right now.
I love that sense of urgency. She's not letting you off the hook with just reading the book and nodding along.
Nope. She wants you to get out there and make things happen.
So who do you think would benefit most from reading You Are a Badass?
I think anyone who feels stuck uninspired, or maybe just curious about tapping into their full potential.
Totally. It's like a permission slip to embrace your awesomeness and create a life you truly love.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive into Jen Sincero's work, make sure to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more explorations of fascinating topics and thought-provoking conversations.
We're here to help you unlock your full potential and live your most badass life.
So hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey.
We'll see you in the next episode.
One of the things that really struck me about this book is Sincero's take on fear.
Oh, yeah. There's sure.
Something that we all struggle with, right?
Definitely.
But she kind of flips the script on it in a really interesting way.
Oh, yeah. I remember that part.
Yeah, she doesn't tell you to conquer your fear or pretend it doesn't exist.
Right.
Instead, she's all about, making friends with your fear.
Yes, exactly. It's like acknowledging that fear is just part of the human experience.
Right.
And instead of letting it paralyze you, you can actually use it as fuel.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective.
It is. It's like fear is that annoying roommate who's always trying to hold you back.
Yeah.
But Sincero's like, hey, why not just invite that roommate along for the adventure?
I love that analogy.
Right.
And she even takes it a step further by suggesting that fear can actually be a sign that you're on the right track.
Oh, interesting.
Like that you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and moving towards something really amazing.
So it's like that feeling of nervous excitement you get before a big presentation or a first date.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you're about to do something that really matters to you.
Right. And Sincero encourages you to just lean into that feeling and use it as motivation to keep going.
It's like she's saying, don't let fear call the shots. You're the badass in charge here.
Exactly. And speaking of being in charge, another key concept that she explores is the idea of taking responsibility for your own life.
Okay. I'm sensing a theme here.
Mm.
She's all about empowerment.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Sincero is a big believer in the idea that we have the power to create our own reality, but that also means taking ownership of our choices and our actions.
So it's not about blaming external circumstances or other people for our unhappiness.
No, not at all. It's about recognizing that we have agency,
Okay.
that we have the power to choose how we respond to challenges,
Right.
and that we have the ability to change our lives.
I think that could be a really tough pill to swallow for some people.
It definitely can be.
It's easier to play the victim sometimes than to admit that we might have played a role in our own struggles.
It's definitely a mindset shift. But Sincero argues that true empowerment comes from recognizing that we are not helpless bystanders in our own lives.
And I can see how that would be really liberating.
For sure.
But how do we actually start taking more responsibility? Where do we even begin?
Well, she talks about the importance of setting clear intentions and goals, and then taking consistent action to achieve them. It's not about sitting around and waiting for things to happen. It's about making things happen.
Right. So it goes back to that action-oriented approach that we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
It's not enough to just think positive thoughts or have good intentions. You actually have to put in the work.
Exactly. And Sincero gives you some really practical tips and exercises for getting clear on your goals, overcoming procrastination, and developing that badass action plan.
That's super helpful. Because it's one thing to say take action, but it's another thing to actually know how to translate that into tangible steps.
Right. And she also emphasizes the importance of self-care and self-love as essential ingredients for success.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because self-love is one of those concepts that can feel a little fuzzy and undefined.
Yeah, I agree.
So how does Sincero approach it in a way that feels more practical and actionable?
Well, she's very clear that self-love is not about being narcissistic or self-absorbed. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, compassion, and respect that you would offer to a dear friend.
I like that. So it's like extending that same understanding and grace to yourself,
Exactly.
even when you make mistakes or fall short of your own expectations.
Right. And she gives you some really concrete suggestions for incorporating self-love into your daily life.
Like what?
From setting healthy boundaries to practicing gratitude to just simply taking time for yourself to do things that bring you joy.
It's like she's reminding us that we can't pour from an empty cup. You know, we have to fill ourselves up first before we can truly show up for others and for our own dreams.
That's such a great way to put it. And speaking of dreams, one of the things I found most inspiring about You Are a Badass is how Sincero encourages you to dream big and to believe that anything is possible.
I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and forget to make space for those big, audacious dreams.
It really is.
Yeah.
But Sincero reminds you that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to, as long as you're willing to put in the work and believe in yourself.
It's like she's giving you permission to unleash your inner badass and go after what you truly want without apology or hesitation.
Exactly. And she provides tools and techniques for overcoming self-doubt, silencing your inner critic, and stepping into your full power.
I think that's a message that we all need to hear sometimes,
Definitely.
especially in a world that often tells us to play small and stay within the lines.
Right.
You Are a Badass is a powerful reminder that you have the ability to create a life that is truly extraordinary,
Totally.
a life that lights you up and makes you feel alive.
Well said. It's not about conforming to someone else's definition of success.
Right.
It's about defining what success means to you and then going after it with everything you've got.
That's the essence of being a badass, isn't it?
I think so.
It's about living life on your own terms, embracing your unique gifts and talents, and making a positive impact on the world.
I love that. It's not just about personal achievement.
Right.
It's about using your badassery to make a difference.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point that Sincero makes.
Oh, yeah.
The importance of giving back and contributing to something larger than yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. How does she tie the concept of giving back into this whole idea of being a badass?
Well, she argues that true fulfillment comes not just from achieving our own goals,
Okay.
but also from using our talents and resources to make a positive impact on the world around us.
So it's not just about me, myself, and I.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that we have a responsibility to contribute to the greater good.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that giving back doesn't have to be some grand, heroic gesture.
Oh,
It can be as simple as volunteering your time, donating to a cause you care about, or even just being kind and compassionate to the people around you.
I like that. It's about finding ways to make a difference, however big or small, and realizing that even those seemingly small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect.
Right. And she also talks about the importance of aligning your actions with your values,
Oh, interesting.
which is a key component of living a truly authentic and fulfilling life.
Okay, I'm curious to hear more about that. How do we actually go about identifying our values and making sure that our actions are in alignment with them?
Well, she provides a series of exercises and questions designed to help you get clear on what matters most to you.
Okay.
And then she encourages you to make choices that reflect those values, even when it's difficult or inconvenient.
That's a powerful challenge because it's so easy to get caught up in the shoulds and the have-tos of life
It really is.
and lose sight of what truly matters to us.
Right. But Sincero reminds you that you have the power to choose how you spend your time and energy, and that aligning your actions with your values is essential for creating a life that feels both meaningful and joyful.
I love that. It's about living with intention and making choices that are in alignment with your deepest beliefs and aspirations.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what it means to be a badass. It's not just about achieving success or material wealth. It's about living a life that is true to yourself and that makes a positive impact on the world.
I think that's a message that resonates really deeply with a lot of people.
Definitely.
You know, we're all searching for that sense of purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
And You're a Badass offers a roadmap for finding it.
Absolutely. It's a book that empowers you to take control of your life, to embrace your unique gifts and talents, and to create a reality that is aligned with your deepest desires.
It's been quite a journey exploring this book with you.
It really has.
It's funny, it's inspiring,
Yeah.
and it's packed with practical wisdom.
It is. And I think the most important message is that being a badass is not about being perfect.
I like that.
It's about embracing your imperfections, owning your power, and living a life that is authentically you.
Well said. So if
Ah.
you're ready to unleash your inner badass and start living an awesome life,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more explorations of fascinating topics and thought-provoking conversations.
We're here to help you unlock your full potential and live your most badass life.
So hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey.
We'll see you in the next episode. You know, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into You Are a Badass, I'm struck by how Sincero manages to blend this kind of spiritual, almost mystical side with really practical advice.
Yeah, it's a really cool mix.
She talks about things like source energy and the universe have your back, but then she grounds it in these actionable steps you can take right now.
It's like she's saying, hey, believe in the magic, but also get off the couch and do something.
Exactly. And one of the most practical areas she tackles is money, which a lot of self-help books kind of shy away from.
Yeah, they do.
But Sincero goes right for it.
She's
So what's her take on the whole money thing?
Well, she believes that our financial situation is often a reflection of our limiting beliefs about money. Like if you grew up hearing things like money is the root of all evil or rich people are greedy,
Right.
those beliefs can actually sabotage your ability to attract wealth.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
You believe you don't deserve money, so you unconsciously make choices that keep you broke.
Exactly. And Sincero encourages us to challenge those beliefs and replace them with more empowering ones.
Okay.
She argues that money is simply energy, and we can learn to attract it into our lives by shifting our mindset and aligning our actions with our financial goals.
So it's not just about budgeting and saving. It's about addressing those deeper psychological blocks that might be holding us back financially.
Right. And she provides practical exercises for identifying and releasing those limiting beliefs, along with tips for manifesting abundance and creating a healthy relationship with money.
That's so important because so much of our financial well-being is tied to our mindset and our emotions around money.
Absolutely. And speaking of emotions, another area where Sincero really shines is in her discussion of relationships.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Because let's face it, relationships can be one of the biggest sources of both joy and frustration in our lives.
So true.
So how does she approach this topic?
Well, she emphasizes the importance of self-love as the foundation for all healthy relationships.
Again, it goes back to that core principle of taking care of yourself first.
Exactly. Sincera believes that until we learn to love and accept ourselves unconditionally, we'll keep attracting relationships that reflect our own insecurities and unworthiness.
It's like that saying, you can't love someone else until you love yourself.
Right. And she gives you some really practical advice for setting healthy boundaries, communicating your needs effectively, and attracting partners who are supportive and aligned with your values.
That's so huge because so many people settle for relationships that are draining
Mhm.
or even toxic because they don't believe they deserve better.
It's true. But Sincero reminds us that we are all worthy of love and respect.
Yes.
And she empowers us to create relationships that are truly fulfilling and supportive.
It's like she's giving you permission to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you and to demand the kind of love you deserve.
Exactly. And she also talks about the importance of forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, as a key to creating healthy relationships.
Forgiveness is so powerful,
Hmm.
but it can also be really, really challenging.
Definitely.
So how does she approach it in a way that feels accessible?
Well, she emphasizes that forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful behavior.
Okay.
It's about releasing ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment.
So it's more about letting go of that negative energy that's holding you back than it is about excusing someone else's actions.
Exactly. And she provides practical steps for working through forgiveness, whether it's forgiving yourself for past mistakes or forgiving someone else for hurting you.
That's so valuable because unresolved anger and resentment can really poison our relationships and prevent us from moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great takeaway from You Are a Badass. It's about taking ownership of your own happiness and well-being and recognizing that you have the power to create a life that is truly fulfilling.
It's been such a fun and insightful journey exploring this book with you.
I agree.
It's funny, inspiring, and packed with practical wisdom that anyone can apply to their life.
Definitely. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that being a badass is not about being perfect.
I like that.
It's about embracing your imperfections, owning your power, and living a life that is authentically you.
So well said. If you're ready to unleash your inner badass and start living an awesome life, we highly recommend checking out You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to Mighty Habits for more explorations of fascinating topics and thought-provoking conversations.
We're here to help you unlock your full potential and live your most badass life. So hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey. We'll see you in the next episode.